let me ask you, are you saying that if the prayer day was removed, this country will have no prayers? What is the worst case scenario?
If people actually pray, they could pray in their...
I listened to Ndindi Nyoro talking on austerity measures, and his spirit is in the right place. And I said to myself, do you know, if you just cut the budget of travel in Parliament to 0, do you know how much you save? Billions. For one financial year. Billions. And I'm sure it's over 2B. Just on travel. So when you're saying, oh, we don't have money for capitation, we need to raise taxes, that's a lot of BS. I mean, if you look at what the president is doing, all these activities, that tent that they have up in State House, how much does it cost? Because they have a tent. Why do they have a tent in State House?
People are coming, you know.
Why?
To, you know,
why? To do what?
To attend to guests.
Why?
Who come to
Why?
Teachers today, doctors tomorrow.
Why?
17 billion.
Listen, it is cheaper for you, President Ruto, to go to the people than the people to come to you in State House. That is an austerity measure. It is. If it's me, it's like me sitting in my house and saying, now I'm going to bring all my electorate to my house. I put up tents, buy sodas, put security protocols and what they're telling you, the reason why they couldn't cancel the presidents to the prayer and whatever. It is cheaper for you as an individual to go to the people. Yeah? How come Waikibaki never brought people to State House? Yeah? And how did that affect the budget then? So some of these things, even for schools, yes, the teachers now are saying, the principals, the biggest thing is who's going to pay for all these fire extinguishers? We are not allowed to put the cost down to the students and to the parents. That's, they should demand. We need to get to a place where we say, okay, in fact, no, we are demanding that until these things are done, capitation and this, we don't want anything else happening. When you see people taking photos saying, now they've gone for conferences, now you've gone for this conference, and now you've gone for Apple Agriculture What Seed Nini conference, where we come mbunge. Alafu? Even that, it's because there's no accountability, because there is no way. We are not given anything. You know, from the corporate life when you travel, you know there's accountability. Yeah. Aside from just attending the actual conference, sometimes you even have sales targets. Yep. Sometimes you even you're told you must come back having, you know, made this collaboration with this company. There's a target. And that's the reason why even our embassies now, in our high commissions and embassies abroad, we are just using them as people hanging around. But if those people had targets of the amount of business they bring in, of the, you know, but we are not intentional about how we spend our money. That's why we can now say, yeah, we're having a problem. We can't put fire extinguishers in schools because we don't have money.
How are Kenyans valued, Gloria? Because the policy is there. We have 75 pages that needs to be whittled down for everybody to understand it. Head teachers are saying, we don't have money to buy all this. But on the very same day where we have 16 Kenyans dying, we have a national prayer breakfast. And we talk about a national prayer breakfast that was turned to be political because what was said in that national prayer breakfast. Nikishindwa nitaenda home. Nikirudi mimi nitaendelea.
I'm glad that he has come to that realization that he's going home.
How are Kenyans valued by their leadership?
Again, I will draw comparisons to toxic relationship. It's the easiest. Hiyo ndio Wakenya wanaelewa. Ukikuwa na mtu mwenye ni mjinga sana hata unaanza kujiuliza how did you reach here? It is the choices also that we make as Kenyans. Yeah, because these leaders are not imposed on us. Yeah. We choose them. We go out to the ballot and we vote for them and we say, this is the person that I want to come in. So it is a reflection of also how low we have stooped in terms of choosing our leaders. And for whatever reason, the motivation behind voting for that leader, we also need to have some self-reflection. Deep self-reflection. Because remember, the president you choose will determine the cabinet secretary you have. There are people in this regime who could not even be receptionists.
What does that mean?
And I'm not saying receptionist is a bad job.
That's what I was about to ask you. I mean, don't hit on the receptionist.
No, I'm just saying there are people on the level of cabinet secretary and permanent secretary. Those are senior director management levels. Forget even receptionists who could not even be entry level program officers. You cannot qualify for an entry-level program officer job, but suddenly you're sitting there and you're now driving policy and governance of a whole sector. How did that person get there? the president you voted.
You said they were political.
And that's why you need to also, during this time of campaign, look at Jimmy Wanjigi. Look at the people around him, because those are the people who are going to end up being cabinet secretaries. You understand? So, because it's normally like that. Look at who else is fronting themselves for president, Look at Dr. Fred Matiang'i. Look at Rigathi Gachagua. Two things that you have to when you're thinking. Yes, what does this person stand for? But also, what will his cabinet look like? Because as I've told you, this is the first government that has brought us completely incompetent people to director level, to cabinet level, to ambassadorial level. Remember the ambassador who was... Then they nominated the nominee for I don't know which ambassadorial station.
It was DRC.
Yeah, who couldn't even express himself, but the president saw it fit to nominate them. That is the kind of president that you have, and not to say that all people should look the same but at least ask yourself, because honestly speaking, this is about capacity, skill set, ability, passion, and the spirit of patriotism. The spirit of patriotism is what we are lacking in the leadership. And it's because some of them they are already shocked. They can't imagine that they're in that position.
Now, when we talk, because where the rubber meets the road is you have to ask questions around how citizenship is secured, which is the constitution. If we were just going to say follow the law, follow the constitution, the primary job of government is to secure the livelihoods of Kenyans through whichever mechanisms that they want to do that. Now, if we're going to segue, still remaining in the same pool that we are talking about now, if we talk about not being able to secure the lives of children in schools and doing the very bare minimum, basic, take care of people, make sure that they can eat, move from point A to point B, and then maybe they can have a little bit of something in their pocket. If you're unable to do that, would you reckon that there is some business that you should be playing when it comes to some international conversations, such as, for example, setting up quarantine centers to then take on America's sick?
No, import Ebola to Kenya.
One thing I was reflecting on my way here...
For money, by the way. It's not free.
One thing I was reflecting on my way here is the Cabinet Secretary for Health.
Yeah.
What does his track record look like in terms of legislation, in terms of what he stands for, in terms of many things? And if you go down that road, you will say no wonder. Because Duale is the same person who was involved when he was in Parliament as the majority leader in changing the Public Finance Management Act such that all the monies that were borrowed as a country for whatever project or reason, at that time used to go to central bank. Duale was involved in the legislation that said it doesn't have to go to central bank, it can go to a private account somewhere in another country.
This is true.
Yeah.
That is the person who is now in charge of the Ministry of Health. Money driven, commercially driven, no spirit of patriotism, an individual who can change as a legislator, push and support an amendment that says if Kenya borrows money, it doesn't have to go to central bank and it doesn't have to be audited through parliament. And it can just go to a company somewhere and the president can do whatever they want to do with it. That is Aden Duale. They did it together with President Ruto that time. So now, considering that is the person you're saying, he's sitting, imagine in an office, let's just put a practical scenario, then he gets a phone call from the Secretary of State from the United States of America. And the guy says, what's up? I have 82 billion Kenya shillings for you for quarantine zones. Niaje unaweza kanisimamisha hizo mavitu kwa airport yenu? That's the person. Then you mentioned some crazy amount of money. And then you think now that person will be like, no, please. I love my country. I don't want Ebola in my country. That person will be like, hey, na percentage ni how much? Commission yangu ni ngapi?
But was it him, or was all of this based on the infrastructure of